Welcome to Career in Ruins. I've come down to Hengistbury Head in Dorset, which is an Iron Age promontory fort, a hub of trade and exchange in later prehistory. And today we're going to be doing some experimental archaeology. One of the best things about this site is they've built an experimental zone within the fort. They have a roundhouse, they have furnaces, they even have a log boat. And we're going to be looking at all that today, and we're going to hopefully be making some iron. Before we start the smelt, it's worth thinking about why Hengistbury Head was such an important place in the Iron Age. Hengistbury is a really important site in Iron Age Britain because it's right on the south coast and it serves as the trading hub between mainland Britain and the continent. Excavations have revealed lots and lots of roundhouses inside, lots of evidence for occupation, but crucially evidence for contact with northern France and northern Europe. That includes things like coinage, things like amphorae coming from the classical Mediterranean, being shipped across the continent and then put onto boats and brought here to Hengistbury Head to be distributed to the people of Britain. That constant movement of goods and people didn't just bring wine and coins, it brought new skills and technologies.
It's a natural harbour, it's situated ideally in southern Britain, so at the time the trading routes come directly across, and Hengistbury is like it's the perfect trade location, so it becomes this massive port. And because you have that mixing of different people and you have lots of movement of people happening on the continent with the Roman Empire moving about, you get technologies moving with people and ideas and that cross mixing of like different societies, and that's just really interesting. So you get these crafts turning up here that are just quite rare elsewhere.
One of those crafts was iron production, and today we're going to recreate that process ourselves.
So iron smelting works by you find minerals in the environment, right, in the world around us that are rich in iron. We call these minerals ores. They contain metal that can be extracted into a usable material. It usually is an oxide. So Hengistbury with lots of iron or ironstone, rich in iron. And what you do is you crush that up into a fine powder. You build a furnace that's like a nice chimney, and you create a very, very hot fire, but not with wood. A specific type of fuel, you use charcoal, which is basically a form of reduced burnt wood. So you have to preheat your ore, get it really hot, and then layer it in these lenses. And what happens is you draft this furnace with bellows that are like leather bags that push air in. And as the ore slowly sinks through the furnace, the charcoal reduces it. The carbon monoxide from the charcoal pulls and rips off the oxygen from the iron and leaves behind iron, called metallic iron. So that's fine. So in this chimney, imagine there's lots of little specks of iron that's starting to form. However, actually getting iron to weld together requires exceptionally high temperatures. So as this stuff burns down and moves through the furnace, as it gets towards the bottom where the air pipe is, the temperatures increase dramatically. And now we're talking like 1300 degrees, 1400 degrees, temperature where you make lava. So everything is starting to melt. And in this zone, this reaction zone, all those little specks of iron start to weld together and they form something that's almost like a cauliflower. It's called a bloom of iron. This kind of hangs down around the air pipe.
After hours of firing, prodding, pumping the bellows, watching the temperatures climb, it was finally time to see what we'd produced. Well, that was quite a day. The folks working on the furnace were starting to find that it was getting very difficult to get air in. The furnace itself was getting blocked up, and it felt, as we were kind of probing it, that there was some sort of blockage, maybe even a bloom forming. So we had a go at tapping. Hayden whipped out his iron bar and stabbed some holes in the bottom. But unfortunately, whatever was in there wasn't molten enough to flow out. So a little bit disappointing, but that was not the end of it, because we decided to break open the front of the furnace and pull out its contents. And it was very clear that it was really, really hot in there. We certainly got it up to temperature. Lots of very hot, semi-molten material came out, but ultimately we didn't get that iron that we were hoping for. So while it was a successful experiment in that we learned an awful lot of things, many of them what not to do, we didn't actually make the iron bloom that we were hoping to make. But it was really interesting to be in that space doing iron smelting experiments, to be in an Iron Age promontory fort with a roundhouse right next door, enacting crafts that would have happened thousands of years ago. So while not a success, it was certainly interesting, and I've loved being out here and catching up with Hayden and learning a bit about the site. Ultimately, to me, Hengistbury Head is one of the most magical prehistoric places in Britain. It has that wonderful connection to the continent. It has phenomenal archaeology, and the way it's set up as you enter the site through the fortifications and you go into the museum with the roundhouse and the experimental centre to your right, it's a very tangible, beautiful visitor experience. And it's been great being out here today and trying to live like they did in the past, although ultimately not successfully.